So the personality thing comes in. But the truth is we need to take initiative as men. And so taking initiative, that's why it's us even to chase the girls.
This business of waiting for the girl to ask you out.
Exactly.
That's not a man of honor.
Yes, so it's not a man of honor.
I've told my sons.
They said it's like omukyala alinga sigiri. I don't know if how I can say that in English.
A woman is like a charcoal stove. I will be the interpreter of that day.
Yes, I want to believe that if you stand out there and you be a man of faith and put God first, I want to believe it's the stone maybe that killed Goliath.
Welcome back to my space. Eunice Adubango here in my space. Thank you very much for watching last week. Thank you for getting back to us. Thank you for writing to us those beautiful stories. Some of you have written stories of hope. Some of you have written stories where you need help, stories of help. Some of you have written stories of discount asking. I know, and some of you want a discount. Don't worry. Like I usually love to say, I'm not a child of the devil. My father is God, and so I do not lie. And today I am back with Pastor Sam.
Thank you for having
What a
me
beautiful
again.
conversation we had.
Yes, it was awesome.
You know, when we were coming on the set last time, I thought that the conversation might be only 20 minutes. I was thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? You know, people have told me that when I get on set, I'm like a natural.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's good to be authentic.
And originally, I even used not to plan, which was wrong. I would just come on set and do my thing, you know, just move. But then the problem with that is sometimes I would sit back when I now listen and be like, I should have talked about this and that and that. And the reason why I wouldn't is because I didn't have a roadmap.
A roadmap, yeah.
So lately, I do a bit of a roadmap. But I really
Is that the sanguine taking over? Or?
The sanguine wants to just flow, and then the choleric is like,
please
no, madam, we don't roll like that. So, yeah, but I'm very happy to have you again, Pastor Sam. It was so beautiful last time.
Yes,
I'm sure my people know you already.
Yes, they
But
do.
Please say hello to them. Say good morning, good afternoon, good wherever they are. Yes.
Yes, wherever you're watching from, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here again. And yes, as I introduced myself last time, Barnabas Samuel Aleku, yes, a father of 4, and I'm so happy to be here.
And a husband of 1.
A husband of 1.
All
and
the time.
She, not a he, because we need to be clear on
important
that.
Things. Oyagala Christina, that you didn't say you're married to her, my friend. You know, some people can be weird. The people who don't know me can put in the comment section, is this your husband? So you need to mention that you're a husband of another person.
Another person, yes. That's very important. Yes, she's called Christine. And yes, we've been married for the last 20 years. Wow. And God has blessed us with 4 disciples. Like I said last time, they're following hard.
I picked that one. I want to tell my children, go follow hard. But you want to be like the apostle who said that follow me as I follow Christ.
As I follow Christ,
it's such a big responsibility.
Absolutely.
It means you have to be careful to be sure that you're following Jesus, so that people don't pick what we used to call katwa in school, poison. Well, today we are talking about men of honor, the man of honor.
Right.
The last time I came onto the set with a conversation with my single friends, I sent out advice to my single friends. People sent me messages. They said, we want part 2, we want part 2. But one of the things that I emphasized in that conversation, which I say all the time, is that every time we are talking to singles, there is that unwritten thing that we are talking to single girls.
Yes.
The moment you say singles, even when you call singles at church, if there are 100 people, 98 will be girls, and only 2 will be men. And so every time we have a conversation to the unmarried, people think we are talking to only the girls. But I also noticed is that most of us who mentor are women. And most of us, as in who mentor openly, who are loud in this mentorship, we are women. And so because the men are not coming out openly to say we are mentoring, people think that there is nobody mentoring men.
Right.
And so that's why when I got the opportunity to have you, we could have ended last week. I said, I'm going to have him again so that we can talk about the man of honor.
Right.
So ladies and gentlemen, this conversation is for the Christian and the non-Christian and every man that is single that
Right.
wants to become a man of honor, or even that doesn't know they want to become a man of honor.
Right.
But it is also for you, the single lady, to be able to identify.
Right.
So we are
The
going
man
to draw a portrait of a man of honor.
Right.
I want to start with a scripture. The Bible says in Titus chapter 2, verse, I want to start with verse 1. You, however, must teach what is appropriate to sound doctrine. So Paul is telling Titus. And then he tells Titus, verse 2, teach the older men to be temperate,
Right.
worthy of respect, self-controlled, and sound in faith, in love, and endurance. These are deep things. These are deep things, Pastor. I'm going to read them in another, I like in the Passion Translation.
Yeah.
Lead the male elders into disciplined lives full of dignity and self-control. Urge them to have a solid faith, generous love. Oh, we have so many men who don't have generous love.
Yeah.
Bantu ba mukono gamu. Women are really, really, really crying.
Yeah.
People can't leave Kameza even of 10K. Generous love.
Generous love.
And patient endurance.
Endurance.
You know, we have a generation of men who can't endure. Leave alone patient, but even endurance. They are not patient and they also cannot endure. These things are deep. I am going to read the message. Guide older men into lives of temperance, dignity, and wisdom, into healthy faith, love, and endurance. And finally, the Passion Translation. Urge the older men to be temperate, vulnerable.
Vulnerable. I love that one.
Who is going to wear? You know how the Bible says that a faithful man who can find. We are about to say a vulnerable man who can find. Sensible.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Sensible, self-controlled, and sound in faith, in love, and in the steadfastness and patience of Christ.
Yeah.
Sensible.
Sensible.
We have so many nonsensical men. This is going to be a good conversation.
Yes.
So,
you know, you've reminded me of a gentleman. We had a conversation with yesterday on it was a Family Life Network. We had a conversation, and it was online. And one man said, of late, the question God asked Adam, where are you? It's now the women asking the men today in this generation, where are you? And
so the men deaf, they can't even hear God. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm a mother of sons, so I'm going to make sure they watch this one.
Right.
Good thing you're already their mentor. So, Pastor Barnabas, what should these men focus on? What should they focus on? How can they become a man of honor?
Right.
Draw for us the portrait of a man of honor, so that when the man stands there, we all say, thus stands a man of honor.
Well, Eunice, it's a broad question. And of course, it takes us to a place of going back to the blueprint. Because we can't define a man without, if we use the yardstick out there, Hollywood will define a man as one with big biceps, a beautiful wife, a beautiful car, and that is, a good car, a big house, and that's a man. Because so the world out there portrays a man in a different way. But the best way to define a man, we have to go back to the blueprint, and that's the Bible. And when you look at the Bible, it's so clear about masculinity, about men. And of course, the first man was Adam. And when we go back to Adam, it's where now we really get the jigs of the matter of who is a man.
So let's define a man.
Yes, so a man.
Some people are about to wonder if they are men, but...
So it say that, I hear so much people say that men are very adamant because we came from Adam.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
so in many
Please
ways.
don't cram that, people. Mm.
But yes, so when you look at Adam, it's really he defines a man. We need to learn a few things from Adam's weakness to define a man, because when you look back in Genesis, we see God creating a man, and He created man in His image. And let me just read something small here so that we are in sync with the word. This is the best way we can define a man. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on earth." This is Genesis 1, 26, verse 26. And then 27 goes on to say, "So God created man in his own image." In other words, man looks like God. In the image of God, He created him, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply." Now, this was the purpose of man. Man was supposed to do these things for the rest of his life. And I always tell men, maybe before I go into the definition, I just feel this might pass me. But this is where now the vision of a man should come from. Every man should have a vision.
Bitabuse.
Yes, every man should have a vision and should have a purpose to live for. So we see that God created Adam, and He tells man that all they were supposed to do is have dominion and have children, or be fruitful, and also name the animals. This is what they were supposed to do for eternity. You and me were supposed to do this. But unfortunately, man fell in Genesis 3. And when man falls, and many people have said it is Eve who fell, but it's actually Adam who fell. Because Adam was given the instructions.
Yeah.
And then Adam fell so many times. Because when you read Genesis 3:6, it says that Adam was with Eve. And actually, he was standing next to Eve. He wasn't naming animals. He wasn't away in the garden, far away. He was just right there. Actually, the Bible says, "So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband who was with her, and he ate." The man was just next there. I always tell the young men who are, and also the married men, that can you allow another man vibe your wife when you're standing looking?
Can you just stop just standing there?
At least you say, "By the way, I'm the husband," or "This is my girlfriend, please. Don't talk to her. Talk to me. What do you want to tell my wife?" But Adam was aloof.
So men of honor are not aloof.
No, men of honor are not aloof.
They are not just standing there.
Yes. So the point I don't want us to miss here is the vision and a work and a job. Now, when man falls, God tells him, "You're going to till the ground, you're going to sweat," and then He curses the woman and says, "You're going to have labor pains." So that's the job. Now, you being an engineer, me being a culture tourism consultant, that's the job.
That's a job, yes.
After man fell, the world trains us. We had to till the ground to bring bread on table. But the work is where purpose is. So, Eunice, by nature, food is your thing. Pastor Sam, by nature, reaching out to the boy, child, and man
is the thing.
That's the thing that God wired me to do. The thing God wired Adam and Eve to do was to tend the garden, name the animals, and be fruitful. And they were supposed to do that for the rest of their life. But when man fell, that's where now we see the jobs.
We must work hard.
We must
so
work
when
hard.
you don't live in your purpose,
yes,
you're supposed to be naming animals, you're sleeping.
Yes.
You're supposed to be tending the garden, you are standing there. You might be thrown into work instead of purpose.
Exactly. So we find many men who even resign at 60 and they go into depression and die because they've never discovered their purpose.
Wow.
So that's why the 7 billion people in the world, all of us have different fingerprints. And it's because each one of us is unique. There's something that God has wired you to do. And so for me, my call is to reach out to the boy child. And so I want any young man out there who could be saying, what's my purpose? Where can I put a finger to? It comes from passion. It comes from something around you that you're really always looking up to. Some people just say, I'm a good listener. Everybody comes to tell me their stories. Maybe God is just saying, by nature, you're a counselor. You just need a small course, much as you're an accountant, in counseling to just guide, to nurture that God-given gift. That's why you used to see some families, they would say, that family, they are dancers, they are musicians, they make drums, they do all the things. It's because everybody is gifted. Yeah, so I don't want us to miss this, that as a young man out there, you must discover your purpose. If you discover your purpose, then other things are going to fall in place. People will see potential in you. When I was dating Christine, I had nothing to my name, but she saw potential.
Yeah, because there was walimuka purpose.
Yes. So there was this potential in me. And so many young girls who come and ask, Pastor, I've seen this young man, and I say, what's his purpose? If he
What
has a
is his
purpose,
potential? And I want to just say something there, Pastor Sam, because some people again, they are just going to go to the young man and they are going to say, what's your purpose?
Yes.
You know, we have to be witty about these things.
Absolutely.
You may not, some people are not easy to confront.
Yes.
Some people are going to just, even some men who are watching this, they are now going to live in expectation of girls asking them, and they are going to repel, you know. But one of the things an older woman taught me, my mentor, Auntie Claudette, she always asks the young girls who are seeing young men, she always tells them, take that man to an older woman, or take that girl to an older man to just have a conversation with them.
Yes, I like that cross.
Yeah, the cross, because she says that usually the older woman will be able to tell something in that young man. And usually the older man will be able to tell something in that younger woman. Don't take to those who don't know what they are doing. Those those older men who know what they are looking for. They will just have a casual conversation with the person. And if the person is not able to tell you, this is my purpose, if you brought them to me and I just had a conversation with them, I may be able to draw it out and tell it to you. Now, here, though, is the problem. Because I've worked with some young women, they bring me the young man, and the young man really is just standing there. Like, I talk to them and I realize this person is not a person of purpose. But because the girl loves him, even when you tell her and you say, okay, you want to accelerate this, you want to get married in 2 years, but the way I see this person, I think they are missing here and there. Take this step. They usually don't know. They usually say, they just run away. The next thing you know, they are married. And then they come back to you later. 4 years later, when things are failing. When you take a person to someone and they have a conversation with them, be humble to listen. Because for me, when I tell them, I don't give them problems. Like, I don't just say, hey, run away. No, I even tell them, in order for this person to be helped, maybe you need this and that and the other. Because I'm cognizant of the fact that all of us are changing. You understand? So yes, there are some people who on onset they feel like they are beyond repair, but they are not. But most of these young girls, at least I deal a lot with the young girls, they are not ready. They are not ready to put in the weight. So I wanted to say that because some people may say, what if he can't tell me his purpose? What if even he doesn't know? Let him come for man of honor. As he goes through those 10 weeks, he will get to a place where he will understand his purpose. But at least we both believe up to this point that every man of honor must have a purpose. And what I have drawn from there also is the jobs are going to end. Because at your workplace, they are going to tell you, you're now too old, make way for the younger blood. They are going to tell you, oh, you must retire at 65. Nobody is going to retire you out of your purpose. The purpose is what you do until you die.
It just is something that you can actually resort to, and it's a life. Okay, you can retire in a job, but you can't retire in your purpose. We have seen even reverends who have served and they're into a place of maybe counseling and name it, and you can't resign in that.
You can't.
So
I've seen the former Archbishop. Henry
So,
Lukorombi.
all right.
Yeah.
He's a peacemaker
Yeah.
here, there, and it's just so beautiful seeing that happen.
Yeah.
So, back to our story in the Bible, we actually see that Adam missed out on these key things. And for the young man there who's out there, I want to just describe this just using my palm so that maybe you'll get your points clear. That the number one thing that Adam failed, which every man there must to do, a young man, and it will help you as well understand this as we define a man. So a real man takes initiative. And this is the biggest finger. I would like to use this. A real man takes initiative. The pointing finger here is a man takes responsibility. Adam did not take initiative to stop the serpent speaking to his wife. He did not take responsibility as well to be at a place of saying, God told us not to touch the fruit. You have touched, let us repent. And also step up as a leader and say, God, forgive us. He went ahead and touched and ate. Those are all false.
Yeah.
So Adam was not responsible. So the longest finger here is sacrificial leadership. A real man takes sacrificial leadership. Adam should have sacrificed everything it took to stop the serpent from speaking to his wife. So a real man takes sacrificial leadership. And this goes deeper. When you get married, you'll understand that men die daily. Yeah, there's some things that we have to give up and say, you know what? My shoe could be a quarter past, even as I'm walking.
But
the
let
children,
Eunice get a new one.
Yeah, let's get
Hallelujah.
And when the ring finger falls here, is that a real man loves faithfully. We don't see, we see Adam failing on this as well. He didn't love faithfully with his wife. And of course, a real man leaves a worthwhile legacy. So if you look at all this that I've described, this taking initiative, personally, myself, I struggled in my relationship to take initiative. Because my wife will tell me that bulb needs fixing, that sink needs fixing. I procrastinate, I sleep over it.
But why should they even be telling you?
Yes.
You can't you see that
Exactly.
the sink is leaking?
So the personality thing comes in. But the truth is we need to take initiative as men. And so taking initiative, that's why it's us even to chase the girls.
This business of waiting for the girl to ask you out.
Exactly.
That's not a man of honor.
Yes, so it's not a man of honor.
I've told my sons that
Yes.
even me, I shan't participate. I won't do arranged marriages.
Yes, so we take, taking initiative means, you know, this is the only thing that touches all the fingers. It touches your worthwhile legacy, your loving
this one
faithfully.
can't touch.
Yes, so
This
you
one
must
can't
take
touch
initiative
all
as a man
comfortably.
in all the things. You need to take initiative in all the things. And also one thing I would like to leave with the men there and also for the ladies to understand is also what I would call the 5 Ps. The 5 Ps that every man ought to have these 5 Ps. And also I'll still describe this with my hand here, even as we've described who a man is. Because we say the man takes initiative, he leads responsibly, he leads sacrificially, he loves faithfully. Now, this loving faithfully not only to his wife, but even to his family, to the children, and also to his relatives. And then, of course, you leave a worthwhile legacy. Now, before I leave this, you may realize that this is the smallest finger. A man ought to leave a legacy. And now, our legacy, we leave it daily.
Oh, okay.
The legacy, we leave it daily. And so this small finger, it looks like it's the smallest, but it's the one which can pick something from your nose and your ears. The rest may struggle.
Did we have to get there?
Yes. It is the only thing that, so we ought to live, a real man lives a worthwhile legacy. It's very important. But also, a man out there ought to know that now I'll start with these 4.
The 5 Ps now.
The 5 Ps. That he is he has to be the priest in his home. Now, being a priest, now, for instance, if me being a flag male, if I sleep on the job, Christian will be at the altar leading.
Yeah.
But every man out there, and some men need to understand the temperament. Yeah, many men will say, for me, my wife is the one who leads. But ideally, you should be the one at the forefront because you're the head.
Yeah.
As Christ is the head of the home. So you ought to be a priest in your home. And if you're dating, you ought to be praying for your girlfriend and also to be at a place of saying, I need to lead this woman. On Sunday, let it be in your schedule that at least you go to church. Then you're also the prophet. A prophet sees ahead of time. Yes, so you could be in a relationship and you're renting and you tell your girlfriend or your wife that in 5 years' time we shall be out of rent.
That's prophetic. Yes.
Yes. We are going somewhere with this thing.
Brand told me
Yes.
in that second year of our marriage, we shall have a house.
Wow.
And that appealed to me because, Pastor Sam, I had never lived in a rented house.
Right.
My father, and it's not that my parents had built, but my father never had a job where they didn't give him a house.
Wow.
So can you imagine the first time
Yes.
I lived in a rented
Rented
house is
house.
when I got married. And you want me to rent for the rest of my life?
Yes, so
I'm not used to having neighbors who are not, like, I didn't know what this is about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're marrying such a girl like Eunice. So you have to envision her.
Yeah.
You have to tell her, look, things are going to be better. Right now, may not have it, but you've married potential.
But don't again just talk.
And talk, yes.
We are not telling people to to talk too much because you who is saying that we are going to be out of this rented house in 2 years, what are you doing about it?
Yes, we are coming to that.
How are we going to get out of this when you're sleeping every day?
Yes, and then also the other thing is you must be present.
Yeah.
Your presence matters a lot. There's some places where the light is on, but you're not in. I've seen places where fathers are there, but they are reading newspapers and they're just looking at the kids and then closing their faces again. You ought to be present at home, at school. If they call you for a VD, go there, be present. And these are very key things.
And don't be present on your phone.
Exactly.
Because I've seen fathers on visitation weekends, they are seated in the circle, but they're on their phone.
Yes. Now, also nowadays, the young men who are single out there who are dating, they're also on their phones. You've gone for a date, but you are still not present.
And young women need to know that that is a red flag.
It's a red flag.
Someone who can be out with you, and yet they're on their phone. Someone who is out with you, but is looking at every bam bam that is shaking.
Yes.
They cannot look at you in the eye, even for 10 minutes, like you're the one who has to keep tapping them, and then they say, hey, I was not admiring her. That person who can't be present when they are present with you, they will not be present when you're not, when you're absent.
Absolutely. So that's a red flag, actually, because I could go there, but yes, men, we are visual. We are visual, and so those are kind of the flags that you could be seeing as well, which we tell the men, one look is okay. The second look is a suggestion. The third look, we say, please, flee. Don't do that again. So your presence matters. And then also you're a protector. You know, in marriage, for the single men out there, the day you get married, your wife will be on your left. Sorry for the left-handed people, but it's for that, when she's on your left, this is your strongest hand.
Yeah,
no one should touch
just
my
explained
bride.
that to me. I didn't know.
Yes, she has to be on your left. You protect her from day one. And because you're the bride's groom, you're grooming your bride. That's why you're called the bride's groom.
I like that.
Yes. So she's on your left. And so you protect her from day one. And when it comes to marriage, of course, you protect her from people out there, and even from your relatives and from your friends and out there. So I'm walking a journey with a young man. They'd been married for some time, but they were in this silent moment with his wife. And then the wife went and knocked a Mercedes Benz. And then she calls back immediately, and his dad refuses to pick the calls. And she tells a relative to call him and tell him what she's going through. Then he picks her call, and the first thing he said is, "Good for you."
Wow.
And the long story short, this man intimidated the woman every day, and they ended up dating.
Breaking up.
No,
they dated.
They dated. Now she went out with the man who had the Mercedes.
The man of the Mercedes.
Mercedes. Because every time she came home, they were still in silent moment. There is silent treatment.
What?
And so it became an issue. So I was telling him, you should have protected your wife, then deal with the other things later.
Because also, where was Adam when the serpent was talking to Eve?
He was right there. He was right there.
But
so
he could not protect. He could not tell the serpent, shut up.
Shut up. Yes. So those are some of the things that when we look at a man, these are some of the things that we say you should be at the forefront. And also, I think those are 4. I think the 5th one is now again the big thumb, which is provision.
Provider.
So provision, when you look at provision, it again touches on all this. And you can't butter bread without this.
Pastor Sam, men are saying these days that for them they can become house husbands.
Yeah.
I've told my boys that I will beat you if you turn into because they are saying, so if me, I can stay at home and take care of everything, the woman now, apparently we are in a different generation.
Yeah, they're calling it Generation Alpha.
We are now a different generation. Don't oversay those scriptures, men. But for me, a man who cannot provide, I have young girls at the introduction, they buy everything.
Yes.
Do you know that for me, by the way, if you bring me an introduction budget and it has on Kasuzekatia, and I don't contribute to that kind of stuff.
Right.
Who are you to bring me an introduction budget with Kasuzekatia on it? Do you know how much Kasuzekatia costs?
No.
Kasuzekatia.
Maybe there's somebody watching who doesn't know what Kasuzekatia means.
Kasuzekatia is directly translated is how did the girl sleep?
Yeah.
So they bring a matchbox.
Right.
They bring paraffin.
Yes.
They bring candles or, those small lit lamps.
Yes.
Those lanterns.
Yes.
The thing costs about 20,000 shillings altogether.
Right.
You mean you can't marry a woman? I have told my boys, I'm a mother of 3 boys.
Yes,
my first is 15, the next one is 13, the other one is 7. The 15 one is making 16 this month. I have told them that before you even start to stand in front of me and tell me you want to marry a wife, you're going to first show me your bank account and show me how much you're going to contribute. Me, Eunice, and Adubang, I'm not going to marry a wife for you.
Right.
Because even me, they just married me. Because I think we also have a problem there with parents. They help their sons to marry wives.
Right.
A man of honor must be able to marry a woman.
Right.
We are going to help you. Like, we will stand with you and whatever, but don't start asking us. Don't have a budget of 80 million shillings and you have only 2 million.
Yes.
Where do you get the moral authority to dream big when you have 0 shillings?
Yes, that takes you to the journey of a man, which is a boy. You become a man. Then you become a husband. Now, that's where you're talking about. A husband is now where you say, I can take care of somebody's daughter. That's where now you choose to make a resolve and say, I can be a husband. Husband means I can take care of another person. And now from there you graduate to a father. Now that you are able to take care of this person,
you can now take
care of other people. So it's a place of, have we agreed?
So people shouldn't become fathers before they can be husbands.
You first be a husband. And then you can take care of this lady. And then say, okay, now I can become a father. Now from that father, you graduate to an elder.
Okay.
Yes, from father, you become an elder, grandfather. So that's the journey of a man. So if you understand that as well, it brings you to understanding that it's a journey. You don't just jump in and say, okay, maybe for those who have had it like a dad, like it is said, a dad can be a sperm donor. But a father, it means you are like mother hen. You have to care for these children and raise them, mentor them, and make sure that they are better citizens of tomorrow and not people who are going to be causing trouble in community. So that's the responsibility of a father. So if you understand, by the way, it's the highest office in a man's journey of life.
Yeah.
It's the highest office.
Yeah.
Fatherhood. So it's not something lightly to take there. So back to the 5 P's. So you can realize that you can't butter bread without the thumb.
The thumb, yes.
And again, it touches on everything. Because you can't say, I'm the priest, and you're not providing. The children will say, what kind of father are you praying to? Even your wife. Your presence in that house, when you're not providing, it will be something else. Your prophecy, vision.
False prophets.
False prophecy. Where is the money coming from anyway? Because you're not providing and you're telling us.
This is serious. Fathers who are false prophets anyway.
Yes, so all the things come in play. But it's very important that if you have these things, if you understand that a man has to have the things, has to have these pillars in life, then it's very easy for you to stand out and be a man of honor, because you'll be honorable in your community, knowing that you're able to provide, you're protector, you're priest, and you're doing these things.
You're
so
present.
you're present.
And you're a provider.
You're a provider. Because there are some homes that have said that home is, there's no man in that home.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
the man is actually
When the
alive.
man is actually, so there's it's very important for you to understand, and then also to draw some things from Adam, that as men we ought to be not passive. Adam was very passive, but we ought to be men who take initiative, who are responsible, who are
Who are present.
And
Who are hard workers.
hardworking. We need to be at a place of being loving faithfully, knowing that I have to leave a legacy, because a legacy, you live it every day, because we ought to leave a worthwhile legacy. By the way, you can leave a bad legacy and you can leave a good legacy.
Yeah, we all leave a legacy.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But a good legacy, it shouldn't be remembered for being a womanizer, for lack of a better word. But you can be remembered for a man who was there for the community. And Eunice, in Man of Honor, I tease the men with that. I make them write a vision. I make them write a mission.
A mission. Values.
I make them write values. Then they write their ideology. Ideology is I tweak legacy to ideology. That you're in that coffin.
And people are talking
about you. What will your wife say about you? What will your children say about you? What will your colleagues at work say about you? What will the community where you've been living say about you? And we ask you to write it in 2 full caps, typed. But guess what? We put a fine to it if you don't submit in 2 weeks.
And many pay the fine.
And we get 95% of the fine, because the men struggle with a place of eulogy. Actually,
and do you know, Pastor Sam, what I'm thinking?
Yes.
I'm thinking that your eulogy doesn't have to happen at 60 years.
Right.
Because I think the reason why some of them can't write is they're like, I will do some of those things later.
Right.
But I think even a man who is dating should be able to write, because you can die today.
Right.
You can die 1 year into the marriage.
Right.
You can die 2 years into the marriage. Are we able to speak about you within those 2 years? Like you were all these things and even more?
Right.
But 95% is a high percentage. Huh?
Yes. So men struggle with writing that. And I have a beautiful story about that.
Please tell.
So there was one man who was writing the eulogy. And then he said, Pastor, you've tricked me on this one. Because I have a daughter out of wedlock.
Oh.
And what will she say about me when I am a past tense in this regard? I look at her in the eyes, and I have struggled with what you've asked me to write. And so they had because we clustered them in 2 groups. When they come to do Man of Honor, we have the men in small groups. So he said, look, the men told him, go and tell your wife. Tell her about it. He said, no, you people, you don't know my wife. If I just break this news, I don't know. The men encouraged him. He went and broke the news. Fast forward. The wife said she was heartbroken. She said, go and bring the child, and they grow together with the siblings. And he came back to the men and said, it's a 10 weeks program. So he comes back and says, my wife, I think, wants to kill the child. She was quick to tell me, let the child
it's
come.
A trick.
And I'm just worried. The men encouraged him. They told him, now, you have another hurdle. You have teenagers. Go and explain to them.
Yeah.
He said, no, these are children. They're just children. They said, no. Go and tell your children you made a mistake. You have a step sibling outside. He said, you men, you're pushing me so far. But the beauty here is that he was obedient. He was able to walk with the man. And so he went and apologized to the children. He dated each of them and told them the issues. About this child.
Wow.
And the child came home.
Wow.
And right now, the child is growing together. But he's always so thankful to Man of Honor that if we called him come and facilitate, he just runs. Why? Because
He
is
has that
he had
tangible thing.
he was authentic, he was real about all this. So that's how
Isn't
the
that,
eulogy.
isn't that, Pastor Sam, isn't that the thing now that we encourage people who are dating to be able to tell each other about the past?
Absolutely.
Because if in the process of dating you die, what is going to be said about you? I'll tell you a short story of something that happened to me at the university. I had a roommate
Yes.
who was dating this guy, a very deep man of God. He used to even interpret in church, and, you know, everybody used to look at him like, wow, this man, you know. And then the gentleman got sick, and he went to Mulago. So Bambi, our roommate, started to go and care for the boyfriend. Because she was in third year, she even thought that immediately after campus she was going to get married to this man. I mean, he was an interpreter in church. He was spiritual. So then the man dies. He dies. First of all, the illness was also a mystery.
Right.
Anyway, so he dies. So our roommate, I was in first year. That thing made me fear men. As in first year, this girl was a third year. So she goes to bury. So of course she goes, she's crying. She's like the widow. She's crying, oh my God, oh my God. And then when she reaches here, she finds her mother-in-law to be, has another girl who is seated next to her, who is also like now the one they knew.
Yeah.
So of course when she reaches, she's crying, falling those ends. Everyone is like, who is this? Who is this? In the fellowship, everybody knew that she was dating this guy. Like everybody knew they were going to get married. And that is when they, you know, when she realizes no one is caring for her, so she puts herself together, sits on the side. Then she realizes that Bambi, there is the real woman. That is how her tears. But Pastor Sam, the way that girl cared for that man in hospital, the way she did, you could not believe. I feared that gender. I'm telling you, I really feared it. I said, wow, if an interpreter in church is doing this, what are we going? Where are we headed to?
Right.
I mean, it was a shock. A shock. That girl was heartbroken. I don't know if she's married.
Right.
But there are people who also, unfortunately, they hear these things later.
Right.
You understand? Because imagine now this guy's eulogy is talking about him as a cheater. He's not yet married.
Yes.
But his eulogy is already written. But then also, I remember when they were doing premarital counseling for us, they told us to have a conversation and tell each other about what has been happening in the past. I think that's more like your eulogy.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So I have many such painful stories. I even have one of a friend where the man didn't show up for the introduction. You know, some of these things, they can look like hearsay. When someone says them, they don't look real. Pastor Sam, we were dancing, tuambade our gomeses, emere bajifumba, people are cooking, what? The music is what? We waited. These are believers. You know me, I've been born again since I was 10.
Yes.
So me, all the stories I'm telling you, they are in church.
Yes.
The man didn't come.
Right.
And, you know, everyone is thinking, what kind of person is this? Of course, later you find out he had another girl, so he didn't know how to do this. Why are we not having these conversations? Why do we have men like these? Why don't we have men who take responsibility? Because taking responsibility for me is spelled like telling me the real truth.
Right.
For me, that is what it spelled like. So, very sad things that happen to us in the church. But anyway, as we continue in the conversation, I want you to tell us what this whole, for the person who is not yet married, because it is a bit easy for us to know when we are married what taking initiative means, to know what sacrificial leadership means when we are married.
Right.
But how do you look at a young man who is vibing you and know that this person takes initiative, this person takes responsibility, this person has sacrificial leadership? Like, just give some examples for my single people.
All right. I think first things first. Yes, you fall in love. You like this person. They're all looking good. They're smelling nice. They have a very good vibe. It's very important for you to understand, to get to a place of accountability. Do these people have accountability? I always tell my girls who come, my spiritual daughters especially, who come and say, Pastor, he's so good. He's Catholic. but he has all the things. He has all these qualities. He cares for me. And the first question I always ask is, who is he accountable to? Not anyone yet, but he's so good. I'm like, that's a red flag. Because as long as as men, we like a space of freelance. It's one thing that we really thrive in. If I know that you're not holding me accountable, I can do whatever I want. That's why we see now those untold stories where you get shocked at a place of, I thought I knew. And everybody's looking at you and laughing like you're the only one who didn't know. But all of us knew because this kind of person is a player. And so it's very important for us to know the person. Who are they? Who are their brothers? Who are their sisters? And then the greatest thing there is the spiritual authority over them. Because if the person has a spiritual authority over them, then it's very easy for you to say, either your reverend, your pastor, and have a place of that conversation. Unfortunately, most girls do this at the place of 3 weeks to the wedding, then you get a counselor in church, and then this counselor, all he's doing is ticking the boxes of taking you through. But you ought to have a person that you know that they have authority. They are men under authority. If you get to meet someone and they tell you you date 2, 3 months, 4 months, and all they're doing is just telling you stories about, there is no specific person they are responsible, they report to, then know that that's a red flag, because that kind of person is capable of doing anything
to
you and also around you without your knowledge. And I know there are some girls who have, I have a story about so at university, we had this young man who, for him, he used to pick cars. His father had a washing bay around campus, and he would bring different cars, and girls fell for it because he's a guy who had different cars. He would just come for a short time, he drives away, and then again he comes with another car for a short time, he drives away, and everyone is like, wow, this guy
is loaded.
Is loaded. And then a girl could just fall for that, and yet the true person that you're looking at is totally different. They have two faces. And so, and men were so good at that. We can camouflage. And if you don't know me just because of the way you're seeing me, I'm smelling nice, I'm very eloquent. And that's why people say that church girls go for bad boys. Because these bad boys, they know what you want to hear, and they know what you want. But in actual sense, they are freelance. You pin him down and say, who's your pastor? It's like, Nenawe, you know, what is...
Oh, they're like, I'm my own man.
Am I you know...
Or they even say, God is calling me into ministry, so I am praying, but he's calling you into ministry under who? Under who?
And he can even just propose a holiday for you. When are we going to Dubai? And you're blinded off with the issue of who is this person? Who am I dating? Who is this person? So for me, I think you can see through that person's eyes. Especially, I know girls who have said, I'm yet to meet their parents, I'm yet to meet their brothers and sisters before we marry. And we are left only 2 months before we marry. And you've been dating, but he knows the cards he's playing.
Yeah. And I think that's what happened to this lady. She had never been shown anyone.
Yes.
Because that guy had even fixed to meet dates for introduction, by the way.
Yes.
But he always had a reason why they can't meet the family.
Yes. So those are already red flags. You should have to know that this kind of person is really passing time, but also they know the cards they're playing. They're close to their chest. And you will have to be so keen to peep into their cards, because they'll play them close to your chest, that you'll be very keen to see them. So it's very important that you get to know the person who is accountable. Under authority means there is somebody who you can call on and say, I've not seen Peter since the whole day. Where is he? And that person has a moral authority to call him and say, I'm told your girlfriend says you slapped her last night. How dare you? I want to see you right now. She's here with me. Come here right now. And he'll come and humbly say, I'm sorry.
How about men who say, For them, they were hurt by people, so that's why they've closed out people, and that's the card they are using. They have a story why they are not. They'll even have a story why they can't take you to their family members. They'll say, if you meet my people, they are bad. This is my way of protecting you. There are men who do that.
I think for me, that what I would say to that is that a wounded man bleeds on others. It's a matter of time that he'll be able to beat you and do all sorts of things with you without you being. Because what happens is society, the accountability, people protect you. For instance, if you're in a small group like, say, Watoto, they have cells. At Mavuno, we call them discipleship groups. And you're part of the cell. And you tell me that you're going to get married. All those are your brothers and sisters. They're like, where is he? And when you bring them to the small group, everybody wants to be part of it. Who are you?
Yes.
And so that's when you're doing life with a group of people, like-minded people with the same values, it helps in a way that it protects you in many ways. They'll ask you questions. Are you guys sleeping together? And we saw you holding hands so closely. But if you're isolated and you're just by yourself, there's no accountability. Anything can happen. And you'll be fooled. Men, we know how to. There's some men out there who will throw money at you and blind you. And the next thing you know is it has gone down south and you're trapped with a baby, and yet you're maybe the fifth or sixth person.
And they are not ready to be father. They are still at man. They are not even at husband.
Exactly.
I think what single ladies need to understand, and I speak this from a place of marriage, is that a man who does not want to be accountable to people when you're single is not going to want to be accountable to people when you're married.
Right.
I have heard about suicides. I have heard about women who have committed suicide because now in the marriage, the man has told them, our things are our things. Don't tell anyone. But usually, when you hear the story, that man was like that when they were single. They are always hiding something.
Right.
And so the woman is hard-pressed in the marriage. Even it happens to the men. Someone is saying, don't tell on our things. And so they are together in the marriage and you're hard-pressed and you're dying with things. And I have had a number of suicides that have happened because of that.
Right.
Because of a lack of accountability.
But
also, I want us to talk about the fact that a man needs to be teachable.
Right.
A teachable spirit is going to take you very far. And you can tell a man who is not teachable even when you're dating. Sometimes it's even a simple thing like a waitress in a restaurant telling the man something and how they are answering. A man who is not teachable and who is not respectful.
Yes.
A man who does not respect the waitress, even if they are massaging your back, later when they are familiar with you, they are not going to respect you.
Right.
And so many single girls overlook the fact that when the man went past the boda boda guy, he shouted at the boda boda guy and abused the boda boda guy. And you thought it was cool. Believe you me, the way he is treating other people outside this relationship is a representation of who that man is. I'll tell you that I knew that my husband was a very compassionate person through the way I saw him treating people around us. And I knew that he was also very compassionate over, I knew that he loved to be compassionate about vulnerable people. So when I met him, I knew he was one of the first men to go visit the Watoto villages. He was in a cell where they were paying fees for a Watoto child. All those things are pointing towards the heart of the man.
Right.
He broke down when he saw a child, an orphan that is not being taken care of. Those were telltale signs about the type of. So when we
all those are green flags.
Yes. So when we got married later, and he was very. If we are discussing how much to pay the maid, and if you say, let's say maybe 100,000, and he said, Eunice, that's little. How do you think if we break 100,000 into 30 days, you're basically paying someone about maybe 3,000 shillings a day, 3,500. So he would ask me, how would you live on 3,500? I understood him because I had already seen he was compassionate. But a man who just said, that maid, they are just useless, just to pay him anything. That is telling you about the heart of a man.
Right.
So later when he doesn't give you kameza, please don't complain.
Right.
The same way he treats the maid, the same way he treats the vulnerable people. Get a conversation with the man you're dating about the cleaner at work and get to know what he thinks. Talk to him about the people in the ghetto. See what he means. Those things are talking about sacrificial leadership,
Yes,
how
yes.
much he sacrifices.
Right.
I remember when we got married, my husband, when we had one car, I was working at Makere at that time. I was still lecturing at Makere. And now the lecturing meant that when I come with the car and park it, I park it the whole day.
Right.
So I'm not using the car. For him, he's going to be roaming around town, but he used to take the taxi. And this is exactly what he used to tell me. He used to say, if you're comfortable, I'm comfortable. That's what he used to say. He used to tell me, I'm better off when you're comfortable.
Wow.
And now that I'm older, I understand it. But now I know what he was playing, even him, the game he was playing. Because if a woman is comfortable and she is well rested, she will give you her body easily. Naye boda boda mukube mubenya, what, you know,
Right.
then you come home and you touch her like this. So I told him, and Branda, I know what game you were playing. Like now I look back and I'm
Yes.
like, this man who wants sex every night, how is he making it easy on the wife?
Yes.
Yeah, the person is not comfortable. You've sacrificed nothing.
You're not
So
dying daily.
if you're not dying every day, so if you're not dying every day, so you need to find out these young boys who take you out and they can't sacrifice anything.
Right.
So I thought I needed to bring those things into the conversation that
Right.
the young ladies need to look out for those. But please carry on.
Yes, I think it's very important to understand this because if the young man there doesn't have what we call a man code, a man code are things, they are rules which are not spoken of, but they help us in, we do that in Man of Honor, and we ask the men to be as real as they ought to be because if they are not teachable, then they can do anything. Because by nature, men, as they say, we are adamant because we came from Adam. For instance, my wife we shall buy an electric machine at home, and she'll be reading the
instructions for use. Yes.
Me, I'll be fixing. And when I'm done, I'm left with 3 screws in my hands, and I'm like, what happened? And then she's like, oh, you should have done X, Y, Z. Because we feel we're in charge as men by nature, because I think they created us first. So we feel always we know it all. But I would like to bust a young man's bubble out there and another man there out there that we don't know much. We ought to learn every day. Myself, I had to unlearn. To be at a place where I am, I had to unlearn and again learn and read more. Because to be a better father, and to be a better husband, and to be a better mentor. Because my father had 3 wives. I would have said, let me upgrade and have 4. And
like
I don't know.
Greater things.
Yes, I don't know what I would have with 4 Christians or 5 Christians.
You can't handle. Speaking from a choleric sanguine place,
so
yes.
it would be something on itself. I think I would run mad and take off my clothes and start walking on the streets. So being teachable, it comes from the man code. And we write that in Man of Honor. It's a topic on its own. It's called the man code. And we say man should live for a cause. We call it the cadet. That a man should live for a cause. He must be available. He must be dependable. He must be courageous or encourage others. And then he must be teachable. That if you're not handling these things, these 5 things, then you could be a man isolated. And when you're isolated, even the animals know. The lions go for the isolated animals for prey.
Yes.
So it's very important. But also, a man out there who could be saying, or a girl out there who would be saying, how can I identify the man that I ought to have as a man? And this man has to have friends. Who are real friends. I remember when I got married, my wife, when we were just dating, I had so many friends, and she kept saying, I don't like that friend of yours. I don't like that one. I was like, hey, these are my birthdays on P1. In P1, we sat on the same desk. What are you saying? So, I don't like him. I don't think they're going to build you. I'm like, my friend, I've been around with these guys.
You found me like this because I was with these guys.
Yes, but the truth is there are 3 types of friends.
Okay.
And then I'll break it down again to another 4.
Okay.
But the 3 friends, there's a friend of yesterday. And every young man there should know that these friends are time wasters.
Wow.
The friend of yesterday will tell you, remember how we used to jump out of campus and go and dance? Remember, yet you have moved on. For you, God has elevated you to another level. You are now serving in church. But the friend of yesterday is telling you about the things of yesterday. And you sit for 1 hour they're telling you, do you know so and so died, so and so died, this and this happened. So you need to avoid those friends if you're a young man out there, and a young lady as well. Then also there's a friend of today. A friend of today will tell you, man, there is a new CJ's in Kamocha. You need to come. There is a new Eunice kitchen.
For more
in
fear of missing
Please,
out.
you're missing out. She's giving us discounts. It's cheap. You can even get a loan and just come and we have these meals. That's a friend of today. They're looking at consumption. You can buy five pairs of shoes. But we need the third friend, which is a friend of tomorrow.
Yeah,
a friend of tomorrow is one who tells you, look, young man, friend, let's bring money together, buy land in Gayaza, let's wait for 3 years, we shall go and divide it, or we shall go and put up an estate in that place. So you need a friend who is building you. And if you're a kind of girl that you're seeing this boy or man who has friends of yesterday,
mostly,
and the friends who we're talking about Arsenal, Manchester United, all the time, and nothing, then we got to be at a place of, it's a red flag.
Yeah.
And you ought to be very careful. But also for the young man out there who's saying, how can I do this on my own? I am struggling. I want to be that person, but I can't make it. I think you need 4 friends. The scripture tells us it's in, I think in Mark chapter 2, verse 1 to 4. There's a very interesting story there.
The guys who carried the people on the mat,
Exactly.
the friend on the mat? Okay.
Now, these 4 friends were very special. I always say that they took a bullet for their friend. And now every man out there, I always call them shock absorbers. Like any car which has 4 tires, you need these 4 shock absorbers. The mentor sharpens you from the top. Yes, and then, of course, the mentee sharpens you from the bottom.
Okay.
Because you need to know that you need a mentor. And the mentor, they don't call you out. You enter their space. And so for a young man out there who could be saying, I don't have a mentor, and you're waiting for a mentor to come and say, oh, please come. You need to enter their space. I remember my mentor who lives in Nairobi. Luckily enough, I had a UK driving license, so I can drive anywhere in the world. And being able to understand that you need to enter the mental space. And then also the mentee, how the mentee sharpens you from the bottom is that you won't go peeing on the roadside.
Because you know that fear.
There are people who look up to you.
Yes.
There's the way you carry yourself, because you know that you have people who are looking up to you as well. Yes, and then of course the other man that every man needs is a rebuker. Person who tells you, man, I saw with the other girl, I'm seeing with another girl, what's happening?
Or it tells you that you don't wear yellow shirts on pink trousers.
Yes. Fashion police. Yes. So you need a person who rebukes you as a man. And this also applies for the married people, not only necessarily for the single people as well. And then, of course, you need a lightning rod. A lightning rod is a person that you go and say, look, there's so much vibrating inside of you or so much lightening in you that you go and say, look, I woke up on the wrong bed yesterday, and that man will not judge you, but they tell you, look, you can be better. And ladies, you do that so well. You always have an outlet. And for us men, we feel so macho. We feel like we can handle everything. And later, Pastor Sam stabbed somebody, and you're like, God forbid, but he's such a good man. What happened? How did he end up doing that? But it's because you've been puffing up everything inside. So a lightning rod is an outlet. You need a man who you can just go and say, look, friends, it's thick. I have these issues. How can you help? So I told you I call them shock absorbers, because if you have these 4 pillars, like that man who was lowered, to Jesus. By the way, the friends would have come and said, look, can't you see? Everywhere is so full. We are taking you back home to die.
Or they would have just told him, be a man.
Be a man.
Walk yourself in.
Yeah, but these guys did something strange. Not strange, but extraordinary. They climbed up on the building, made a hole, and they said, we shall take care of the landlord tomorrow. but we have to
So
lower
you
ourselves.
must have a man that can take care of the landlord.
Yes.
You know, someone you can go to and say things are tight.
Yes.
Instead of telling your wife stories,
Yes.
somebody who can say, you know what, let's go to Kaleri and buy some few things for you
Yes.
to use while we wait.
Absolutely.
Instead of stressing the woman all the time.
Yes. And
Yes.
so there's one also who had geography. They had the geography. I think I want to believe there was one or two were down and saying, yeah, please bring him on this side. And they lowered the guy exactly.
Just where Jesus
That's
was.
where Jesus was.
Yeah.
So you need men like that who take a bullet for you, go an extra mile for you, to be there for you and say, look, we have your back.
Yeah.
But how many men do you have in your life that can say, I have your back?
And are you also able to allow the men in your life? I will
Exactly.
tell you from my own experience, I used not to like friends.
Right.
I am sanguine, so it's easy for you to think you're my friend
Right.
when I know you're not my friend.
Right.
So I was those people who didn't want people to get close to me.
Right.
So I had a wall around me until around just before COVID. I think 2 years before COVID, I just woke up one day and I said, Eunice, you need to open your life up to people.
Right.
You need to allow people into your space. And when I made that decision and I told God, a mentor had told me that when I want good friends, I should tell God, I give you permission to choose for me friends.
Right.
So I prayed that prayer and I said, Lord, I give you the permission to choose for me friends. And when I said that, my eyes got open to the fact that there were people who were around me who had always wanted to be my friends. They were interested in me, like people who are always saying, oh, Eunice, can I take you out for a cup of tea? Or who are like, oh, you love earrings. Can I buy you earrings the next time I travel? You know, like I had a lot of people around me who were interested in me, but I used to like push them off. So the men can have those 4 friends that you've talked about, people at work, like a young man who is watching. Maybe there is that head of department who just likes you on their team.
Yeah.
They are always saying, be on my team. But you know, for you, you're like, that guy, he just stresses me. That is actually a moment.
Yeah.
Someone is actually seeking you out and is saying, come, let's walk a journey together. Accept and walk a journey with them. Maybe there is this man at church. My husband had a man at church who I have thanked on the show before because I got to know that man when I got to know my husband. He's called Fred Selwoza. He's not even living in the country anymore. But that man really loved my husband. Like, he was always saying, Brand, can you come home and visit us after church? Like, he just was very interested in my husband. And for a while, my husband would always say, no, I can't come, because he would just want to go home and sleep. But when he was in the Christian Men's Network, the mentorship I told you about off record, that I see most of the men who are my husband's friends who went through it really came out so well. They told them about allowing people in their space. And I will tell you, Fred Selwoza walked with my husband. Wow. And then, of course, the wife also got a keen interest in me. And they walked together with us. So men, you need these 4 friends. You need someone who sharpens you from the top. You need someone. So the single women, you need to look at these men. Do they have someone they are working with? Absolutely. And actually what I think is a man who can work with other people is also going to be a good father.
Yes. Because
being able to mentor means that you can father. Yeah. A man who can work with someone above them, it means that they are teachable. A man who has people who can rebuke them also means they are humble. Yeah. A man who has a lightening rod means that they are teachable, they are humble, they are patient, but they can be vulnerable. Remember the scripture we read that the men need to be taught to be vulnerable. And there is where I want us to talk about this even as we come towards a close. The conversation we had in the back end about mentorship, especially for marriage. And I shared with you our story that when me and my husband were going to get married, we went to church and we wanted to be counseled for a full year. And the pastor was in shock because the counseling they had at church was for 2 months. Right. And so the pastor said, I think he looked for what to do with us and he didn't have it. So he told us, I want you to meet 1 couple every week, ask them questions and come and tell me the answers. And now for us, we used to meet 4 couples because we were from different churches. And I saw so many couples in my church, so many couples in the church where my husband was. So we used to meet 4. But in there, I told you, in a multitude of counselors, there is safety. Right. In there is where we found Reverend Latima and Auntie Elizabeth Muwanguzi. Wow. And they walked with us, especially in the journey of sexuality. Both of us were virgins getting married. We didn't know what this is. We didn't understand what to do. We didn't know family planning. You know, like everything was a shock.
A shock, yeah.
And we did not know what we were going to do. But we had candid mentors.
Yes.
We've struggled in many areas in our marriage. We've never struggled sexually.
Wow.
And I'm not talking about people who just tell you it will be okay. Because I told you most of these couples we met used to tell us, you will just know.
Yeah, you know, Eunice, when you say that, it's because of the taboo. The culture has showed us that you don't talk about such things as sex in marriage and sexuality. And very many young men have fallen for that fallacy or perversion. And many men are in that place of, you don't talk about the things just openly. You know, that's why they'll say, maybe they send you to Kisagati, where
another person will tell you.
Another person will tell you. But yes, finding people who are candid, I think it's also very key thing there. It's very important because in our culture, many African cultures, that's why you'll see they'll call anything to do with sexuality another name, but not calling it the real name, just because it's a taboo to make mention of this. But also something for you to take keen of as a young person getting married and things. You have to be open about each other.
Yeah.
And also be open as much as you can. Sorry, I interjected, but I just felt I needed to just let us know that sexuality is a big thing, especially when it comes to marriage. And you ought to know. And especially knowing about your past. It's also good to just put it out there so that the person doesn't discover later and about your sexual life. For instance, I and Christine, I got to be open with her and say, look, this is my journey. This has been my past. But here I am. Take me as I am. But this is who I am. So it's very keen and very important.
As we bring this to a close, I want us to take note of a few things that have happened in this conversation. Young men, you need to know that I say this, and people say, Eunice, you're tough, you're ruthless, you're so blunt. But having a gadget doesn't mean you know how to use it.
Right.
So find someone who can teach you how to use it. But also find someone whom you can go to and say, man, I'm trying to use it, but things are bad.
Right.
Now, the kind of person who is going to be able to do that is a teachable person, is a humble person, is a person who has sacrificial leadership. By the way, let me even tell you something about sex and marriage. A man who does not have superficial leadership will go ahead of the woman and they will ejaculate and finish before the woman orgasms. You understand?
Yes.
Because they are not sacrificial. Like it is about me.
It's about self.
It is self. And most people don't see those things. Like they don't see that in the man saying, go ahead of me. You know, like when you're walking. In the man saying, they've brought us one chair, sit on it as I stand. They don't see that is going to end up in bed.
Yes.
They actually do not see that.
Yeah,
but these are the things that are the talking points that we want you to take away. Taking initiative means that single man, you're not the one pushing him into man of honor. You understand?
Right.
Taking initiative means that he is going to come by himself. Right. Taking initiative means that you find him and he's saving, or at least when you have the conversation on saving, he is going to go ahead and save.
Right.
Taking initiative means that after him listening to this, maybe for you all you do is to share the link with him. But taking initiative means that when he finishes watching this, you don't have to bug him and tell him, call Pastor Sam, call Pastor Sam. That is not a person who is taking initiative.
Yeah.
Being responsible means that they take whatever they have done, they do not say it is because.
Yes.
You know, a person who is always explaining and saying, the reason why I don't do work well at work is because of my neighbor. Yeah. The reason why I'm like this is because of my parents. You know, the other day I was talking to someone who said, for them, they are like that because of their upbringing. And then I said, for how long are we going to blame our ancestors? There is a point when you start to live your own life.
Absolutely.
Then sacrificial leadership means that you can die daily. This is what my husband said, and I will close it like that. He said, when Jesus said, men should love, when the Bible says that men should love their wives as Christ loved the church, he was saying men die. Like he told me, generally, that is the meaning, because how did Christ love the church?
He died for
the church. Loving faithfully means that you approve present, you are there, you are listening,
Right.
and you do not need us to know much. Like you're a person of integrity. You love in the open, you love out of the open. That is being faithful. A worthwhile legacy, I don't even know. Young men who are watching, I want you to know that from now on, you are working towards a worthwhile legacy.
Right.
What is it that is going to be spoken about you even tomorrow?
Right.
At work, what will they say about you? In your own family, I mean the family of your father, not even before you go to your wife. What will try? I think we need to give people this homework. Try to write your eulogy. Like, let them try to write it.
Yeah.
And let them see. I hope we don't have penalties for our online people. But also be a priest.
Yes.
Be led into the presence of God.
Yeah.
Because you're going to lead someone's daughter. And where are you leading them?
And they're coming as helpers.
They are coming as a helper
Help
suitable. And I always tell young men that it is okay for you to delegate leadership. You can get to that prayer altar, at least do the work of calling us to pray. That's not hard, Pastor Sam, is it? Call us to the family place to pray. And then when we reach there, because you know Eunice loves to shanda, then you will say, Mommy will lead us.
Yeah.
I think that is acceptable. But at least be there. Be a prophet. Be someone who sees ahead. Young girls, does that man see anything beyond their nose? Or all they see is what is here? I mean, my 13-year-old, my 15-year-old are beginning to tell me about things they see in the future. I don't see any reason why a 32-year-old cannot see into the future.
Right.
Be present. Be a protector. You know, I have a very funny story that let me not even tell about a protector, but let me move on. And the big elephant in the room is provider. Men, by the way, young women, if you have a man who is borrowing money from you when you're dating, red flag 101. How can you borrow money from a girl? And why are you lending money to a person you're dating? How can someone even say, send me some airtime? A man cannot buy their own airtime.
Right.
A man should be able to provide. My husband has ever been out of a job for about 2 months. It was voluntary. He let go of a job because he wanted to try his hand at business. My friend, those 2 months were tough, but I saw my husband sweat. He would wake up and get out of home and go to town. And I'll be like, you don't have work. What are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to look for it. But if you were a man watching this show and you were lying down, where God did like this, you were at 180 degrees. You're not even seated at 90 degrees like this. There is a problem with you.
Absolutely.
And me, Pastor Sam, allow me to tell the men who are watching that washing dishes in the house and changing diapers forever was never in God's plan. While you're in transition, you can change the diapers.
Right.
While you're transitioning to your next job, you can wash the dishes. But for you to say that you're going to become a house husband, you are killing women in church.
Yeah.
A lady I mentor told me that she detests her husband so much. She said, I detest him so much, I don't even have any desire for him. Because he said, I feel like he's a user, a nyunyunta. Because he provides nothing. Nothing. But I just go to the neighbor's home and tell them to dig their flower gardens and at least get chikumi. You can't just sit there. And, you know, so some of you men, your women, you think they have low libido. No. You are useless, so she can't desire you. We have to tell men the truth. You can't be there and you are just empty-handed like this. You know, I have met a woman who is depressed. Because of a man, and some of them pretend, Abera ku computer the whole night. Can you produce money out of those things you're doing on the computer the whole night? Because some of them hide there. The other day I saw a meme on social media where someone said, Mbo, these days men want submissive providers. That thing was bad. Because that is not what God's plan is. No, a submissive provider. The man is supposed to go out there and till the ground. So if you do not have work, in Man of Honor, they are going to teach you about work. My husband mentors men. He teaches them about work. God gave you a head. God gave you 2 hands. God gave you feet, you can walk. I know this has been a hard conversation, but it just has to be said like that. Pastor Sam, please give us your parting shots and we'll say bye to the people.
All right. Thank you so much. It's well said. For the men out there, I'd like to say that yes, women, they said it's like omuchala alinga sigiri. I don't know if how I can say that in English.
A woman is like a charcoal stove. I will
Yes.
be the interpreter of that day.
Yes, you have to start it from the beginning until the end. And so what Eunice is talking about here is that you have to be romantic. I want to believe...
Maybe you'll be there in the last minute.
Yes.
It's okay, please.
I want to believe that when Adam saw Eve, I think Eve was also Kwemo, that she was like... And it's like,
So
"Woo, woman." He called her woman.
Oh,
and so she said
it's
she
like,
would be,
woo,
woman.
man.
Yes,
I like
so
it.
I want to believe that we can get to that place, and yes, we can work. God has called us to work as men, and we can't fold our fingers, we can't fold our hands. If we do that, then the women will forget the 4 P's, and which are also very important, and they outweigh the one. So it's very important that we do that. I didn't work for 1 year myself when I relocated from UK. I was struggling, trying to find my footing, and that's how we went up to UK. But my wife worked, and it was amazing. It was very humbling for her to say, they have paid us because of the foundation we had. We had used my savings, and I knew I was struggling to get my footing, but she always said, they have paid us, honey. And it helped me get to the place of my footing, to get to where I should have been. So it's a team. Let's work together, but you can't get comfort in being a place that because she's a provider, she's a submissive provider, so let me take the chilling place. No. So men out there, we have to be, the single men out there, be a man of potential. These young girls need a man of potential. Can you tell them of the things you're going to do, and can they see that? Are you accountable? Do you have a group of people around you, like a small church group? You have a pastor, you have maybe a reverend.
Or marketplace friends also.
Marketplace
to
friends
grow
as
in
well,
career.
that can uphold you. It's very important. Be confident. Today we have young men who are telling me, Pastor, no one has taught us to live with empowered women. We are struggling. But it calls for your confidence.
Yeah.
It calls for you knowing your identity, that this is who I am. And also be visionary, be a man on a mission. It's very important. Lay out your life as you ought to be, as a real man, as we've seen, not like Adam. And also be deep with your friends, not these friends of casual friends or friends of today and friends of yesterday. Have friends of tomorrow. And I'd like to leave you with a short story of a man called, he was a teenager, he was called David, in 1 Samuel 17. This story is told of David fighting Goliath. The man came with he picked 5 smooth stones to fast forward. He picked 5 smooth stones. And for me, those, I always call them the commitments of real men. The 5 stones that David picked. And these 5 stones, the first one stands for faith, that you must be men of faith. I want to believe that if you stand out there and you be a man of faith and put God first, I want to believe it's the stone maybe that killed Goliath. But there were 5 stones anyway. The second stone he had was a stone of family. We all belong to family. We ought to support the family unit, even as we do life. By the way, David was serving his brothers, and he ended up fighting for the nation. He was serving his family, and he ended up fighting for the nation. So we must put family first as men. God first, family. Then there was friends. David had a friend called Jonathan. He was a good buddy, but kept him telling him, by the way, Dad is coming to kill you. Run. So we must have the friends, the 5. If we can have the 4 friends and also a friend of tomorrow, those are very great friends to keep. And then, of course, there is character. The 4th stone was character. David was a man of character. And if you look at the kind of character he had, he was the kind of person who When Saul gave him regalia to put on and say, this is what you put on, bulletproof, all the things, he said no. He tried them on and he said, no, let me go the way I know. And so a man of character is very important in everything we do. So let us be men of character. It's very important. And the last stone that David had was the stone of cause. His brothers told him, who's tendering the little sheep? When I was at the front line. And I like to listen to, I like when many preachers talk about this. He said, the story there was, if I can bring it back home here, Museveni had said, His Excellency the President had said at that time, whoever kills Joseph Kony, I'm giving him one of my daughters. David had this when Saul had said, whoever kills Goliath will give him his daughter. He said, Sidayo muchalo. He said, Wano, I'll have to do it. So he said, is there no cause for me to be here? And so we see after that cause, which was purpose, he fought Goliath and killed Goliath, and the rest is history. We know how it happened. So I want to strongly leave these 5 commitments of men out there, that if you can put God first, it will be a great thing. If you can put family and also put friends that matter, not any friend, because friends derail us as men. There are some people who say, I'm going to hang out with my boys in the bar. I'm going to hang out with my boys, and you go to brothels, go where you need to have friends that matter. Then you must be a man of character. Character is very important, because people will hire you because of your character. People will associate with you because of your character. And then, of course, you must have purpose, which is a cause. David had a cause, and he outlived that. I mean, the cause has outlived him. We're talking today about David because he lived for a cause. So what cause are you living for?
For your generation. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mothers and fathers that have been watching us, it has been a beautiful conversation. My husband always tells me that every man needs to look at his wife and then realize that that is what they've made. So every woman needs to look at their boyfriend and ask themselves, what will he make me?
What will he make
So the one who is borrowing from you all the time is going to really make you a broke one. The one who is beating you all the time is going to make you the battered one. What capacity does he have to make you?
Absolutely.
At least Mubirabako brand has not made me badly.
Yes. No, he hasn't.
He has the moral authority to speak. So ladies and gentlemen, it has been a beautiful conversation. Share the link with someone. Please give my friends at Trina Shots work. Those of you that have weddings, introductions, who want to take good pictures, please come to Twine Shots here in Makere and liaise with them, and they will do beautiful things for you. Apart from that, I want to say thank you to Pastor Sam. Thank you for 2 weeks of great conversation. God bless you. I'm going to bring you back with Christine. Probably we'll be on set with some men, and we shall delve into deeper conversation.
Please.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.